All right, welcome back to Wilson Builds. If you're new here, I'm Zach. Thanks for stopping by. In today's video, we will be doing some body work on the 29 Roadster. We got our upper cowl and lower cowl from Brookville Roadster. So making this work today, trying to make a firewall work, doing some floor pans, and yeah, overall, probably gonna be a longer video, so stoked on that, and we're gonna get to it. Okay, before all the purists start roasting me for buying new stuff, I did a lot of work trying to find original panels. I did find some, but they were either not for sale, too expensive, or just too bad of condition. So, being in a forever rush that I am, I ordered these pieces and I'll use them and try to do an honest review of them. So, people in my predicament can just do the same thing. These are a little bit pricey is the only thing, but I figured with a car that I've wanted to build for a lot of years now, I will get the more expensive stuff. So the big difference is there is no filler cap on the Brookville, and I actually have like a hood surface and everything for this. So I don't have to build a firewall. I don't have to fix what's here. I don't really have the skills to do that. I probably could have, but the way I want this car, I probably wouldn't have been happy, and it would have been a point where I would have probably replaced it anyways. So save me the work. I'm gonna put this on, try and give you guys an honest review, and the lower cowl piece here. So we're gonna pull this all apart now and compare a little bit, and then start installing. All right, let's take a seat where our cowl used to be. So right off the bat, I noticed that the shape is bang on. The profile of the outside is really good compared to the stock one. The lower flange is longer, or is more surface, so that'll be good for what we're doing. The flange that attaches the lower firewall is actually there on this one. It's not on this one. So I'm assuming they cut it kind of right at that profile bend there, because I don't have any of that. Let's see. Yeah, they cut it just before that. It looks like maybe cut along that bend and then just bent that little bit up into a flat kind of, I guess, one-piece firewall, which I believe they had on this car. So overall, really good. I mean, there's drill holes at the top, but none on the side, so I'll just have to take this one and drill that. I might just put it on there and size it up and then drill, or mark for my drill. But overall, pretty excited. Let's look at the upper piece now. Okay, so the upper piece, as you can see, my gas tank was already cut out, but this one is significantly more heavy than this. It's probably, I mean, there's not a lot of metal left in that gas tank, but I guess there's enough to make it, like, I'm not kidding you, this is like 15 pounds where this is like 5. So overall, the profile is good. It fits really good in the car. I have the hood hinge or hood flange on this guy, so that's awesome. Don't have the filler cap, which is really cool. So good profile. As you can see, the difference why I had to get a new one. Hood flange is gone. There was a weird dent in here too, right here, which, yes, we could have got out. I was going to remove this anyways because there's no point of it. I mean, you can put a cool ornament on there, but mine broke. I had a lion that went on here and it broke, so kind of foobarred that idea. But overall, super excited with the quality of this stuff, but we will give a better review once it's on the car. We get these to fit. The profile is pretty good. Might have to play with it just a tad. Yeah, gonna have to play with these just a little bit to get them to fit perfect. Oh, never mind. It might just have to go lower. Yeah, there we go. Need to go lower. So we're gonna get these drilled, put on, and we'll put the top piece on, and kind of line up our lower firewall. So for right now, I'm just gonna vice clamp these just to see my clearances and work with the top piece, because there's still a little bit to do. They won't just bolt on, and I still got to strip in here so I can get that down to raw metal so I can epoxy that. This side fits much better. The other side I had to bend a little bit, but this actually just went right on. I think I just have to play with the outside kind of profile here. The real factor will be when we put the top piece on, and kind of then we can really start playing with the bottom piece. So we might, I just noticed the top cowl isn't drilled, but those are. So we'll have to mark those and get them working. Okay. So our upper firewall will go like more so like that. Let's get some vice grips on there. Good. That is there. As you can see, motor, I mean, it is what it is. We when we were doing the other video of the motor, we planned it with the flat firewall. Okay, so I've made a mark in the frame. You can't see it on the video, but essentially it's perfect. Both sides. It's the exact same area. So we're just over 9 3/4. Perfect. So we are good on both sides. So I'm going to clamp this. Okay. How are we looking at the top here? We got to look at these gaps here and work with that and work with this, because these can move, this can't. So okay, so far so good. We have good contact. I believe I might have to trim that line down that's in here to kind of bring it forward more. And what I mean by that is, I'll show you. So these lines, or holes here, are actually congruent with holes that are in here. So this whole thing needs to come forward at least an inch. So I don't know if you see there, but there's that pocket, and it basically slides into this pocket. So I'm gonna have to cut it a little bit just to pull that forward a bit. I'm gonna try and get you an angle here. So I unclamped the upper clamp there. So if I pull this forward, you can see the holes, and they line up perfectly with these holes, like that. So hypothetically, I don't think that's supposed to fit like that. So I'm just gonna cut this back. Bring this over to you so you can see what I'm talking about. This just kind of puzzle pieces. I'm not gonna be able to do it. Puzzle pieces into there. So just have to cut this down, I think. Okay, so we cut that down. Now let's try to fit it in there again. Firewall is on. We just have to go around and drill the mounting holes on here and back here. And then we'll line all these up as well. I don't know if you're supposed to bolt this or spot this. I think I would think they would have like a rivet something in here. I'll have to look that up tonight. But it's almost dinner time. I'm going to call it a night for tonight, and I will come back tomorrow with a fresh mind and research Model A front cowls. All right, guys, so I just came back, and this was protruding a little bit, but that can be fixed later on. Everything's even right now. It's good on this side. It's even in a little bit. So we're just going to make some marks now. Got the whole row done now. I was looking at some photos and they look kind of similar from what people are doing. I'm just going to take the dash off. I wonder if these are too tight to, I'll need a wrench. I guess we can get to removing all this and start drilling stuff now. We're going to cut out the temporary brace now. I don't need it anymore as we have kind of everything set up. I'm not moving the body around anymore. So I just got to cut the tack there and on the far side. And I did briefly tack my steering up to it just to see if it would work, because it's kind of where I want it. So I'll build another bracket in here, and then we'll take the brace out and just drill the new holes. Okay, so I think our first step is going to be taking the top piece off and drilling the holes here with our step bit. First issue right here. It's kind of not going in straight there. This should match up with this line, but this little lip here that folds over and goes into the lower part of the firewall is just pressing against the firewall. That being said, if it was back a little more than 1/8, it would fit in there pretty good. I can make it work with a little bit of maneuvering. So I'm just going to take the upper off again and cut this down the middle. Still in the groove, flush with the end here. This could come out actually a little bit more even. We want it to. Just get a pair of running out of vice grips. All right, so we're flush basically all the way. This needs to come out a little bit, so I'll play with that. I think we're ready to start filling these holes with weld. I'm going to do like this kind of section, and then I'll move the clamp down too and just kind of work my way down with the clamp. I probably should clamp before we start, but I'm pretty confident that this is flush. So I'll bring some pliers with me and just kind of clamp it as I weld it. All done welding in the holes now. I'm gonna take my hammer and dolly and just kind of massage the rest of it. So I've got the lines basically where I want them on the lower cowl. So I'm going to go to the other side and just run my drill bit in and out. Front cowl is all together and lined up and basically bolted in. The only things we don't have are these little nuts and bolts that go through here. So from what I understand on the internet, there's like a felt or a cloth kind of layer that goes over here, so the hood, but I won't be using a hood, so I think I'm just going to find nice, well obviously not these are just for lining it up, but nice nuts and bolts to put in here. Whether they're stainless kind of round top heads or whatever they may be, but bolt store is closed this weekend, so I'll have to wait a few days to do that. But other than that, it's all lined up. So we're gonna go into the car now and start working on some of the subframe stuff to go in here just to strengthen that up. So we're gonna do that, and then I think we're not gonna do the firewall in this video, just because that's going to be a big process in itself. I also have to move the motor. So the video, I may or may not post a few videos before this. I did these motor mounts, and now I'm switching to these motor mounts. So you might see a video coming up like, I screwed up, we're doing different motor mounts. But I'm going to keep this one just, you know, here's my first motor mount solo, and, you know, I'm not perfect, and I really don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm trying. So I'll probably post that video, and we will have another video of the new motor mounts. But without further ado, let's get into the car, and we will start building the support pieces. I'd like to keep this angle here, only because that's how the pedals are mounted and so on and so forth. Mind you, we're going to have to cut out a bit here for our distributor. So I'm going to make some marks for that while also trying to mimic this angle here. All right, so essentially there's our reference line for the floor. 9.5 is our first cut. we cut our first piece of our subframe extension, and I used an 1/8 inch wall on our 1 inch tubing because I was brainstorming how to attach the lower cowl to what we're building. And I came to the conclusion I could build a tab and build a bracket here and then bolt it down, or I can just drill and tap what we have and it'd be super simple and clean. So that's what we're going to go with. So I'm going to drill now, so I have a little bit of a reference point. Did the reference marks where we kind of drew the diagonal line of the firewall. I'm doing it behind there, so it's just clean. We can put the floors on, no problem. For our drill chart, according to the drill bit we're using, requires a F drill bit, which I had. Luckily, I didn't have to go and get it. So our pieces here, I've checked the clearance between the lower cowl and the frame, how it kind of curves in, and it's looking good. So I am going to work on fastening this. I want this to be as close as possible, just to be as strong as possible, but I don't particularly want it on top of it because I want to be able to pull this piece out. So I'm actually going to get wedges to put underneath there so I know that there's clearance. What I have found that has worked for me in the past, and I keep these every time I use them, is zip ties. So these bigger, thicker zip ties actually create the perfect, the perfect wedge, or at least the clearance that I like. I don't know if it's perfect because I don't really know what I'm doing. There's our gap. Rest that on top. We got our piece all filed down, and we're ready to tack. Got our piece of sheet. I use this in the 55 or something. It's a little thicker, so it's going to be a lot more rigid. I'm just going to take the lines here where we need to cut it. The rough there. And we'll just fold it in a 90, kind of wherever. And yeah, make it into our fastening kind of flange that's going to fasten the lower cowl to what we just put in. Now we're getting somewhere. Cool. You cut that off. That's okay. All right, so I'm gonna mark where the holes are now. I've done this a few times. It works out pretty good. The grease is on there. Line up where we want it and just dab it in. Now we have 2 spots where we need to drill. Holes are drilled. Let's see how it fits. Aha, perfect. So, our bolts in there. Just roughly. I did the holes a little bit bigger on purpose. There's a little bit of movement. Very cool. Even just with that, there's far less movement. So I'm gonna have to just get that shaped a little bit better. Okay, so we're gonna cut this edge. Yep, I think I might round these edges too a little bit. Okay. I think it'll be fine if we weld around. I'm just going to do it slowly and cool it off and wait. So you won't see that in the video though, because I'll speed it up and make it look like one go. We just finished up the welding. Pretty happy with it. I went all the way around, as you saw in the video. I was pretty careful with the heat and stuff like that for warping, and I didn't notice anything major. There's no rash on the other side, which I'm super happy with. And besides the welding not being my best welding because of the position I was in, it did the job. The car is really stiff now. So we're going to go over and mirror it on the other side, and once we're finished that, we'll touch base. All right, so we have brace on that side, brace now on this side. We got our supporting braces, and it is solid. The body is now completely on. 2 fasteners in the back, 2 in the middle, and 1 in the front now, along with the brace on the lower cowl. All right, everyone, I'm going to cut the video there. Thanks again for tuning in. It really means a lot to me. I am super stoked on the progress we made the last few days. This Brookville stuff turned out amazing. Little to no work to put it in. 10 out of 10 recommend. Super stoked that we welded in the front body mounts and the lower cowl mounts. This body is now rigid on this frame and there's no awkward movement, so I'm super stoked leaving there. In the next video, hopefully we'll cover moving the motor around and making the firewall work for our distributor. But other than that, I'm super stoked where we got this video. If you could like, comment, subscribe, that means a lot to me. It motivates me to make these videos. And again, if you see anything you like, don't like, stuff I can improve on, leave it in the comments. It won't hurt my feelings, and it helps me improve what I'm doing here. And that's what I'm after. So thanks again for tuning in to Willson Builds, and we'll see you next time.